For centuries, the Bible has often been told through the voices of kings, prophets, apostles, and warriors. But woven through every turning point in biblical history are women whose choices altered destinies. Some are remembered, many are simplified, others are misunderstood entirely. They were not background figures. They were decision makers, leaders, risk takers, and witnesses to history's most sacred moments. To understand the Bible fully, we must listen to their stories again, and perhaps see them with fresh eyes. At the very beginning of the biblical narrative stands Eve. Formed in the Garden of Eden, she represents the origin of humanity's story. For generations, she has been portrayed as the one who brought sin into the world. But the text itself presents something more layered. Eve engages in dialogue. She asks questions. She makes a choice. Her decision to eat from the tree of knowledge introduces suffering, but also awareness. Before Eve, humanity lived in innocence. After Eve, humanity possessed moral consciousness. She becomes the first human to wrestle with freedom. Her story is not simply about failure. It is about the birth of responsibility. Sarah's story unfolds in waiting. Married to Abraham, she is promised that she will bear a son, yet decades pass. In a culture where motherhood defined identity, barrenness carried deep shame. She laughs when told she will conceive in old age. Not out of cruelty, but disbelief. Her laughter becomes part of the story, and eventually she gives birth to Isaac, whose name means he laughs. Sarah's journey is not just about faith, it is about doubt, endurance, and the tension between promise and reality. Through her, the covenant lineage begins. Deborah stands apart. In a male-dominated era, she serves as a judge of Israel, a national leader and prophet. People come to her for wisdom. She summons military commanders. She delivers messages believed to come from God. Under her leadership, Israel defeats oppression. Her authority was not symbolic. It was recognized. Deborah challenges modern assumptions about ancient gender roles. Her story reminds us that leadership in the Bible was sometimes entrusted to women, even in times of war. Ruth begins as an outsider, a Moabite widow with no protection and no status. Yet she makes a defining decision. Where you go, I will go. She binds herself to Naomi, her mother-in-law, and journeys into uncertainty. Through humility and quiet courage, Ruth becomes part of Israel's lineage. She marries Boaz. She becomes great-grandmother of King David. Her story demonstrates that faithfulness, not nationality, defined belonging. An immigrant widow becomes central to royal history. Esther's story unfolds inside power. A Jewish woman becomes queen of Persia. When a decree threatens her people, she faces a decision to remain silent or risk death. Approaching the king without invitation could mean execution. Yet she steps forward. If I perish, I perish. Through strategy and bravery, she prevents genocide. Esther shows that courage does not always look like battle. Sometimes it looks like walking into a throne room. Mary's story begins quietly, a young woman in Nazareth. When told she will bear a child through divine intervention, her life changes forever. She consents. Her acceptance carries social risk, uncertainty, and future sorrow. She witnesses miracles. She stands near the cross. She sees what few others endure. Her yes becomes one of the most consequential moments in Christian theology. She is remembered as humble, yet her courage shaped history. Mary Magdalene is often misunderstood. The Gospels describe her as a devoted follower of Jesus. She witnesses the crucifixion. She discovers the empty tomb. In several accounts, she is the first to see the risen Christ. That makes her the first witness to the resurrection. Some early Christian traditions portray her as a teacher among the disciples. Her role reflects influence, not scandal. History sometimes reduced her. The texts portray her as faithful and present at the most critical moments. These women were not background figures. They were initiators, leaders, mothers of nations, witnesses to miracles, agents of survival. Their stories remind us that the Bible's narrative is not singular. It is layered. It is shaped by both men and women. And when we read carefully, we see that courage, faith, wisdom, and leadership were never confined to one voice. History was shaped by many, and many of them were women.